How we going, lads? Using the big forge today. Hey, Alex, Zach, Trail Dust, Paul, Wayne, Justin, Brad, Other Paul, Ryan. How are we? Daniel. Let's hope that Alex's folder isn't cracking. Let's hope it's lacking cracking. Sorry, guys. Clean the camera. So yeah, 6-pound billet today. Using the big forge. Getting warm in here already. Okay, Stray Dog, there you go. So yes, this is take number 3 at making a billet for this sword. Obviously, our previous attempt is right here, not quite long enough. So we're doing it again. Help with the lighting some. Okay. It's the biggest billet I've ever worked. Not going too badly so far. First time using my big forge for forge welding too. Going pretty well. Of course, the big forge is kind of necessary for a billet this big. It wouldn't fit through the door of my post box. Yeah, Preston's doing just fine. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Dragon Water. Yeah, you heard him squealing. That's him topping out in pressure because I was using the flat dies. But that's all right because we're transitioning over to the rounded and colouring dies. Rolling dies. In this next heat, we're going to turn it on its side, start drawing down the width a little bit. Fair enough, Stray Dog. Don't ask me to do math right now. My brain, no math right now. Numbers is hard. That's why I'm a blacksmith. I just hit things with hammers or presses. That's the job may require. That long, yeah. As long as a piece of string. I don't know how many layers are in there. Same number as last time, just bigger. "22 layers. But the initial billet was made with 1.25 inch wide stock. This stuff was made with 2 inch wide stock. Also, the last one was made with 2.5 millimeter 1075 and 2.5 millimeter 15 and 20. This billet's made with 2.5 millimeter 15 and 20, but 3.2 millimeter 1084 and 2 pieces of 6 millimeter 80 CRV2. So it's a little bit chunkier in general dimensions. Amazing what adding a couple of millimeters here and a couple of millimeters there does to the billet. I'm going to get the same treatment in this one. Draw it out, layer it up with some 80 CRV2 more, some more ACRV2, and then draw it out again. And then quad stack that, draw it out into a bar. I'm determined to have this pellet pattern work. I will be doing more engraving videos soon, Stray Dog. I just have to have engraving jobs that I'm doing at the time. At the moment, I'm just doing a straight layer pattern with some kind of layer differentiation. Not looking for anything specific, like anything like super bold. But I do like a little bit of a layer change in my straight laminates, rather than just having all the same thickness. Okay. Ooh, that's hot. She got crispy. That whine is the engine kind of going, I can't give it no more, Captain. Well, at least the billet's staying together. I would bloody hope so. Got a lot of steel to waste. I'm going to run out of room in the forge, isn't it? Morning, Brendan. No, not stainless. No stainless in there. Yeah, just a straight layer laminate. A little bit of randomness from the forging. See you later, Zach. I'll still be here. Hey, Eric. Beats beating the stuff with a hammer? Yes, yes it does. Unless it's a power hammer, in which case, you know, 6-1. I could have, Wayne, like I could have just like flattened it all out, relayered it with some more stuff, and then thrown it back in. The problem is that the layers would get really the fine layers would get really fine, and you wouldn't be able to see anything. It would just kind of mingle all together. I wanted a relatively bold pattern. This billet is for a sword, Brendan. A Damascus Viking sword that I'm working on. I had been making a billet for it before, this billet, but unfortunately this billet turned out just a little bit light, just a little bit too little material. So this is going to be another sword that I'll make another time. Because, you know, I'm not going to waste the billet. But, yeah. I am making a third billet saber. Fourth, if you include the billet that I'm making for Grace Horn. Yeah, so as you layer Damascus, obviously the layers get finer and finer. And there becomes a point where you're having decreasing value. So like in this billet here, there are 364 layers of steel. If I were to cut and stack this again, then like, you know, I'd have to cut it into 4-inch lengths, which this bar I think is 26 inches long. I'd have to cut it into like 6 or 7 pieces. And so 6 times 364, you're talking over 1,000, like well over 1,000 layers. And past 1,000 layers, the material gets really thin, and it's really hard to see the pattern unless you're in a small blade and you've got like, you know, like a folding knife, which I'm not going to make a billet this size for a folding knife. For most sword billets, I think the maximum you want to go for is like 450 layers. Anything more than that, and from a distance, it just looks gray. So I'm shooting to do the same thing I did with that billet, except this billet is 6 pounds rather than 4. Not a master, but you know, I've worked with Damascus before. Done a little bit of Damascus work at the time. Yeah, I could use it for balsa material and stuff like that, but I'm just going to make another sword out of it because I want to. Just re-squaring the billet a little bit because it started going a bit wonky on me. Pays to check your rhombus as it starts appearing. Getting there. Can't put the door on anymore, so. It's gonna get warm in here. Which feather pattern knife video? There are so many. It is a little bit of steel and a little bit of fuel, for sure, Ed. Morning, Notrick. Both on YouTube. There are a number of Feather Damascus YouTube videos out there. My friend Kyle Royer has done a few. Another friend of mine, Spurber Knives, has done a couple. He actually made a feather pattern Damascus billet for Blackbeard Productions, who recently did a collaboration with Disney to make the sword, the cane sword from The King's Man. So yeah, there are lots of feather Damascus out there. Green Beetle did a feather Damascus blade by hand. Hey, Money, how you going? Morning, Paul. How you going? I've made a couple of feather pattern billets. One of them failed miserably, and one of them I sent to Alex, my friend at Valhalla and Alex. I saw the can sword thumb. Oh, the cane sword, sorry. Missing it. Yeah, oh good, I was confused there for a second. I was like, someone made a sword out of a can? I wouldn't surprise me. I was thinking Canis of Damascus for a second. It's like, I have yet to see a Canis of Damascus sword. That is one thing I haven't seen. Bloody big canister. I had a couple people ask me in my Instagram messages why I need such a large billet for a sword. Like, aren't swords supposed to only weigh like 600 grams or so? And yes, that is true. The billet that I made previously that I am not happy with, I could have forged a sword out of, given that it weighs 3 pounds. But the problem is, it's Damascus. And in order to get the pattern out of, especially straight layer laminate Damascus, I'm going to get smacked in the face with my tongs in a second, is that you need to be able to cut through the layers in order to get the pattern. Which means that having a billet that has the exact weight you need to forge a blade out of is not useful. Sometimes I use borax. At the moment I'm using Weld, which is a proprietary forge welding flux from the States. Yeah, exactly, Stray Dog. Very easy to say, not so easy to do. Hey Ben, how you going? Hi, that's Damascus. Yeah, so sometimes I'll use borax. Back before I had Weld, that's what I would use. I got sent a bunch of this from my mod here and my top tier patron, Jared. This and some Iron Mountain Flux. Stuff's amazing. But once I run out of that, I'll be back to using good old glitz green borax. It works. You just have to be a little bit more careful with your prep. When I threw this in, the billet had been sitting there for a few days. It collected a little bit of rust, but I wasn't going to worry about it with the Weld Flux. If it was the borax, I would have gone back to the grinder. Especially because I'm not using anhydrous borax, because I'm not taking the time to make it anhydrous. First you make it ugly, then you make it pretty. A lot of heat gets thrown off a 6-pound billet. Maybe, Daniel. I'm not asking for it, though. There's been enough generous people in my life. There's a lot of people who need to take care of themselves first, before worrying about me. I have done sealed billets, Bobby, and if I was to do another 6-pound billet like this, I might do sealed. I have the sheet metal for it. It's just a lot more prep, to be honest, which is why I avoid it. And with the postbox forge, when I'm doing my smaller billets, with the postbox forge, if the flux doesn't worry me, like the majority of the time you use O2 free welds is because you don't want flux in your forge. Which with like flawed forges, like my big forge, is a concern because you end up with a puddle of borax at the bottom and that ruins literally everything you work on because it's always going to be covered in borax. It's a shitload more prep because you need to perfectly clean everything, make sure that it's completely rust free, all that kind of stuff. make sure it's clamped really tight and everything's relatively the same size, which is also easier now that I have my bandsaw. And then, yeah, seal it. And you need to make sure that your welds are good, which, you know, I'm a pigeon shit welder as far as like professional welders are concerned. My welds all look like bird dookie. So there's a couple things going on through my head at the moment while I'm preparing the billet for the next layering cycle. The size of the layers in the billet in comparison to the new layers I'm going to throw in is directly proportionate to the size of the billet as it will stand when I throw the new billet pieces in. Which may sound a bit confusing, but if I leave this billet thick, then the layers will be thicker in comparison to the new layers that I put in than it would be if I forged it thinner. But of course, the thinner I forge this, the more layers I'm going to have to do in order to keep it 4 inches long. Hey, Gary. Fake it till you make it. Something like that. I know Kyle advocates for big, Kyle advocates for sealed billets all the time. But Kyle is, very, very specific with how he does things. Hey, Troy. I'm nowhere near that accurate. G'day, Tim. It is warm. I'm standing in front of a forge and it's summer in Australia. I will be throwing these with flat dies before I layer it up anyway, to minimize the amount of grinding I have to do. But getting it close to the fullerene dies means less work under the flat dies. Hey, Lauren. Stray dogs, some days I would agree with you. Fortunately, the sun's being kind today, and it's only about 34 degrees rather than 40. heating up the back end of the billet now. Draw that out. First welding pass is always the quickest. And I don't have any grinding discs, so this is basically going to be it. Once I forge this out, I gotta go to the hardware store. Those are white vinegar, funnily enough. Incredibly useful when it comes to removing scale. A friend of mine bought them in bulk for me. Well, I mean, it is an acid. I definitely use it more often than I'd use my ferric. Yeah, gotta dull down my sweetness somehow, Lauren. Yeah, I use it more often than I use my ferric because I don't make as much Damascus as I used to. Although that's changing now. I'm starting to make more Damascus again. So you might see an increase in use of my ferric instead. But I use the vinegar in my those buckets to remove scale from my hammers after I've forged and heat treated them. Because it saves my belt life. Pretty much, Wayne. It's only good for like 1 or 2 batches of hammers, and then I got to turf it all out because the acidity is gone. Yes, yeah, do that as well. That's also that is food safe jeweler's pickle as well, funnily enough. If you want to get the oxides off copper, mixture of white vinegar and salt. Just dip your copper in there and swirl it around a little bit, and suddenly, no more copper oxides. And none of the nasty chemicals that sometimes jewelers use. Yeah, it's not great for etching Damascus or anything like that because it's fairly uneven. The only way to get a really good Damascus etch out of vinegar is to boil it. While it's boiling, it'll etch a little better. Hey DK, how you going? Hey Xavier, hey Chris. That is also true, Chris. What would happen to a feather pattern if you cut out and close the fish mouth before drawing out the billet? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Like, I'm not sure what you're... honestly, basically, any marine grade varnish, Gary. We're making Damascus for a sword, Xavier. So when you cut feather, you get something like that, with the layers going down like that. You've got your cutter that goes through the middle of them. The only way to finish a feather pattern billet is to flatten the sides and weld them back together so that you end up with this. That's feather. I mean, you could cut the end off and then you have a flat bar, which some guys do. All good, Gary. Yeah, absolutely, Lauren. And it's the same with ferric. Coffee is good for contrast, not great for etching. The brick placement? Which brick? I am confused. Now, I'm not super pent up on whether or not this is perfectly the same size all over. As long as it's close, I don't mind. Because this is going to get rewritten and forged out again. And a little bit of layer differentiation inside of the low layer billet isn't actually going to hurt you. I think I'll be getting more than 4 layers out of this. Muriatic, well, hydrochloric, which is what muriatic acid is not as intense as ferric chloride. It's not something to avoid. You can make your own ferric chloride out of muriatic acid. I actually have a vat of homemade ferric just waiting to have the activator put in. But yeah, it doesn't interact with steel as well as something like ferric will. It's really good for etching stainless though, if you ever want to make stainless Damascus. But I would highly advise making some carbon steel Damascus first. Hey, Robert. Definitely going to have enough steel for a sword this time. Oh, that little bandsaw? This thing was made before I was born. Over in England, funnily enough. My dad brought it here. $30. Okay, 30. I was born before the turn of the millennium. I am a millennial after all. Yeah, they're a good old saw. Still runs. Let it dry. Oh yeah, no, don't smell the hydrochloric acid. Do not recommend. Not much, Paul, just drawing out the Damascus billet. Bit of Damascus scale. Modern anvil dust. Yes. Hey, Wanda. Not a problem that I've suffered here in Australia, I have to admit. Amazing how much more vivid the difference between the 1084 and the 1075 is. Like, you don't see that kind of contrast in the scale when I was using 1075 and 1520. I think that was Wonder, actually. Is it gas-powered, not trick? Because if it's a gas furnace, then you're actually you're safe because it comes under contained fire, as the same as a barbecue. That's how I get away with that. It depends, Dragon Water. When I'm doing my initial weld passes, I basically want to get it, like, I want to stop when it's just below forge welding temperature. So once it's actually stopped smoking, you're fine. No, metal pouring's not banned. As long as you're in an enclosed place and not out in the middle of the grass, you'll be fine. I do all my casting here. Unless you're casting ant hills, in which case, yeah, you might be a bit out of luck there. When I'm doing these drawing out phases, I'll get it down to a dull red. Because I'm only going for a finished cross section. The welding's all been done. So you can treat it like any other steel billet that you would be forging on. Pick that out. She's a bit snaky for my liking again. Trust me, you're not missing anything. Hey, Gordon. No workshop. I'm very far from a renegade. I'm a stickler for the rules, but I also know how to get around them. Oh dear. That's not good. I mean, not really, Bobby. Decarburization will happen to almost any steel, but the higher the carbon you go, the shallower hardening you get, which can cause intergranular problems. And you won't find a super high carbon, high nickel steel. So your 15 and 20, which is 0.7% carbon, is always going to suffer. Fair enough, Patrick. Oh, that sucks, dude. It's never fun then. It's so heavy that it doesn't want to turn the board now. I have to kind of hold it up because if I let it go, it just wants to fall. trying to make it straight-ish with something the press can't do. Super thrilling viewing, I know. See you, Justin. Fair enough, Gordon. Send me a message, mate. Technically, I'm not taking commissions right now, but I will make exceptions if I feel that it's worth it. Yeah, fair enough, Chris. They are a very useful tool when you can get one. That's awesome, Xavier. Yeah, that's it, Bobby. So you want to have similar or exactly the same carbon content, which is why in like Damascus, for a long time they were using 1095 and 15 and 20, and that was purely for the contrast because 1095 etches dark. These days you'll see 1084 being used a lot more because it is high in manganese, but also closer in carbon content to 15 and 20. In a lot of cases I'll use 1075, which is basically exactly the same carbon content as 15 and 20, but I'll use 1084 for the extra contrast. All good, Daniel. Just gonna give it a scrub down at the block brush. Try and get it as clean as possible. Save the grinding. Wait. Hey Steve, long time no see. All good, Bobby. happy to answer any questions people might have. Yeah, I mean, technically you could use any high carbon steel in Damascus to contrast against the 15N20, but the higher carbon you go, the more chances you'll have shallow hardening those layers, which can cause all kinds of grain to grain problems. See that, Xavier? You've basically seen all of it. I'm just making a flat bar now. What started out as 6 pounds of multiple layers of steel is now one big bar of steel. All good, Jordan. No worries, mate. Dragon water, the contrast from cable Damascus comes from the decarburization around each individual wire. So if you heat cycle it a couple of times, so weld the ends, untwist it, right? Like heat it up, untwist it, scrub it out, cover it in borax, heat it up again, and then retwist it. That untwisting process and scrubbing it out and all that kind of stuff is going to give you a couple of cycles of it being unwelded, which means that there's not going to be as much carbon migration through the layers, which is going to give you that nice, clean, white line around your edges. And then, yeah, flux the hell out of it and twist it as tight as you can. Just get it, keep twisting, keep twisting. And then, yeah, forge weld it. And you should get some decent contrast, but the contrast is never going to be great compared to pattern welded steel that utilizes stuff like 1084 and 15N20. And if you're going to use cable Damascus, I highly suggest using a core steel and doing a San Maya rather than just using the cable itself, because the grain boundaries, the decarb boundaries from each individual cable is going to mean that you're going to have a soft spot in your edge. Each spot. You guys are just going to have to use your imagination as to what I'm doing right now, but I can promise you it's nothing important. Just straightening it out. Okay, so here we are. We have a very messy workshop. Right, so we are 19 inches long, or 19 and a bit, but I'll probably end up cutting an inch off, make it 18 inches. Maybe. We'll see. And we are almost 3/4 of an inch. Like 5/8 of an inch. So that will get cut into 4 pieces, and I will layer 3 pieces of ADCRV2, 5mm ADCRV2 between them. to create some bold patterns, bold lines. Basically exactly the same thing I did to the last one. And then I'll quad stack that and make a sword out of it. Yes, it is a homemade press. Sounds good, Steve. Right. Yeah, so that will get chopped up and ground and all that kind of stuff in the next, in this afternoon. I have this other Damascus billet that I got to work on. This one's crushed W's. I'm going to be layering this up. I'm going to cut it up into 4, layer it up, forge weld it, and then I'm going to twist it. And that's going to become scissors for Grace Horn to fettle and finish and then send back to me. So, exciting. So yeah, I won't be filming the process on this one. I was filming the process on the original, and so I'll keep filming the process on that one. When I turn that into a sword of another kind. But you may be able to tell. That's the full finished billet of the last one. And it's quite a bit thinner and quite, like, you know, it's longer, but not that much longer. There's a significant increase in overall dimensions. Let's see if I can weigh it without burning my scale. Just test that it's working. Okay, so we'll weigh this one. So that weighs 3 pounds 4 ounces. This one. £5 7. So it was £6 initially. So I've lost 8 ounces, 9 ounces of material. Yeah, no, Grace is insane. She's amazing. She's also just a fantastically nice person. Yeah, so I've lost 8 ounces so far just to forge scale. That's just forge scale. The bigger the billet you make, the more scale you lose. But the scale is a percentage weight, and it's always the way. So, like this billet, when it started out as a 4 pound billet, forge welded it out, drew it out, cut it, ground it, stacked it with 3 more pieces of 80 CRB2. So it went down to, I think it lost like 5 or 6 ounces, and I put in another 7 or 8, like 6 or 7 ounces. So it went back up to 4 pounds again. And then I forge welded it, drew it out, stacked it again, and drew it out again, and I lost a full pound out of this to make this bar. So yeah, that's how much loss you get. So I keep telling people, if you want to make a Damascus sword, you need to have a big billet. All right, Eric, have a good one, mate. Scissor me, Xerxes. Yeah, anyway, so this would be a decent sized billet for a saber or a cutlass or an arming sword or something like that. But it's also not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a Viking sword, and Viking swords are wider. Now, Viking swords are thinner, yes, but they're wider, and I don't want to forge the fuller in because that will cause the layers to be upset, and I don't want the layers to be upset inside the billet because I want the layers to look good. So this 6-pound billet, or now 4.5, well, now 5.5-pound billet is going to be the sword. And when I put the new layers in there after I've ground it, the whole billet should weigh about 6 pounds again. I'll weigh it before I weld it again. And then it'll probably lose another pound. The curse of Damascus. With this bar, no, it's too thin at this stage. In order to do a proper edge lap weld, you want at least 10 millimeters of width. And this is literally like 10 millimeters here, but it's about 5 here. So it actually tapers. To do a proper edge wrap, I'd want it to be 10 millimeters the whole way around, if not more. More like 12 would be nice, like a 1/2 inch. So yeah, if I was going to do an edge wrap, then yes, that is possible. But in this case, no. In this case, this bar is as it is. And so this bar is going to be turned into a saber at another time. But we will have our Damascus Viking sword out of this one. So now I just got to wait for it to cool down, go buy myself some grinder discs so that I can take off all the scale, clear it all off, get it ready for forge welding again. And I think I have enough ADCRV2 to put another layer in there. I do. So this bar of ADCRV2, it's actually a little wider than the stock now, but that's okay. So yeah, I'll put 3 layers of this 5mm ADCRV2 in there, and that'll be the big, bold, dark layers in the pattern. Let's hope. Let's hope, Daniel. Let's hope. All right, Ryan. See you later, mate. Hey, that's where it'll be, DK. Eventually, I'll get there. Use a needle gun. If I had a needle gun, I would, but also the needle gun, yeah, it just creates pock marking, which I'd then have to grind out anyway. So if you haven't guessed, this live stream was in place of my usual Wednesday video. I'm sorry, guys. I haven't been filming anything. I have been so fucking under the pump, and there's been a lot going on in my private life that I'm not happy talking about here. So, you know, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, just bear with me. Anyway, I'm gonna jump off. I gotta go run to the hardware store and go get myself some grinding discs, and then yeah, I'll see you all later with hopefully some new videos in the next couple of weeks. I don't know what's gonna happen, but anyway, see you guys.